Welcome, friends. We're glad you're here.
Welcome to the Present Matters podcast, episode 1. I am your co-host, Andrew.
And I am Cassie.
Also a co-host.
Oh, should I say that too?
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
fine. It's fine. This is our first podcast. Not only the first episode, but just the first one that either of us have ever done. So bear with us as we get through this fun, creative process. We decided we wanted to make this podcast, and feel free to jump in here and correct me on anything or interject. It's going to be a very kind of evolving process, I believe, which is what I'm kind of hoping for with our podcast. Initially, we want to start off the ultimate purpose being we want to make a positive impact in the world, and we want to take all of our life experiences that we've had together growing up, because we are brother and sister. We didn't really mention that.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. We're siblings.
We are siblings, yes, despite having different last names. That's kind of what happens when you're a boy and a girl and are adults.
Yeah, and I get married.
Exactly. Even though we did joke about Justin taking your last name.
Taking my last name, yeah.
Yeah, no. But we want to make a positive impact in the world and just call from our life experiences that I feel are pretty unique and have put us in a unique position in life to share those. And I mean, we can go right into backgrounds, because I think your background now kind of already does that. Like, you already pull from your life experiences and you influence the youth and like the next generation, not just the next generation, but like all of the next generations. Like, yeah,
I'm a teacher. Right now I teach 7th grade, and before that I taught high school, so I've taught kind of everywhere from 7th grade to 12th grade. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what I feel like my purpose or my calling in life is to positively influence not just kids, but just to positively influence people and use my knowledge and my experience to help people in life. So
I kind of want to not only just like professional background, but I'll kind of go into my professional background, okay. And then we can talk about just there. Like like the beginning, from the beginning of our time. So yeah, as I mentioned, my name's Andrew, and my background professionally at the moment is I served in the Air Force 6 years active. I was in the medical field, although I did not do I did a little bit of medical work, but like mostly just training. Like, I was an admin, so I will not take credit for the people who did significantly more than me in helping. Not to downplay my part in the role, like, you know, everyone has their part. If I wasn't a part of that, a lot of things would have fallen through. So you gotta appreciate every aspect of your system. And then I did 2 years in the reserves, and then currently I got my degree in graphic design, and I work in the nonprofit space, which I have been doing for 4 years. So that's where I'm at now. And I mean, with that, like, we can go all the way back to the childhoods.
Oh, the childhood. I also feel like
there was childhood, and go for it.
I was just going to say, I also feel like we should mention that even though my name is Cassie, technically my name is Cassandra, and you call me Cassandra. So if anyone hears him say that, it's still me. He's just the only person that calls me that.
How many people in your life are legally allowed to call you? I'll say legally, but it's just your own legality.
Yeah.
But how many people in your life are allowed to call you Cassandra?
I mean, our parents, because they're the ones that named me, and you, and that's like pretty much it.
Dad calls you Cassie though, right?
Yeah, no, Dad and Mom and Art all call me Cass, not Cassie.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So most family members call me Cass, and then like friends call me Cassie. You're just the only weird one that actually calls me Cassandra.
I don't know why. It's really weird to call you Cassie.
It is.
Now.
It's weird to hear you call me Cassie.
Yeah. Usually it's Sandra.
Yeah, because the KA is hard.
The K in my head. Fun background for me. I have ADHD. Diagnosed, not the trendy ADHD that, that's, I'm sure a lot more people who are undiagnosed do
Like
have it.
me.
I don't want to downplay that. Yeah. Uh, but like, it's not I saw it on TikTok.
I think I
and
have it.
I
Yeah.
resonated with like a couple of messages and like, oh, I totally have this. It's like, no, I'm actually diagnosed with ADHD. My brain moves faster than my mouth does. And so like, I say the "k" in my head, I guess,
And then
just all that
Sandra.
comes out is Sandra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So calling you Cassie is even weirder now because my wife, she has one of her childhood friends that she came out to visit us that she's really close with is named Kassie, and so like I call her Cassie.
So then you're like
and
calling
so
me Cassie.
Just
weird.
Yeah, this is weird. I don't like that.
But is she Cassie with a K?
But anyways. No, it's with a C.
Yeah.
It's the proper Cassie.
Whatever.
It's not the extra Cassie. It's like because you had a say in your name and making it extra.
Yeah, our parents had to be different.
They did. But I digress.
I think we're gonna do that a lot.
Go back to our friends.
I think we're gonna do that a lot in this podcast.
Yeah.
So buckle
Definitely. Buckle up. We will have topics. But as Cassandra and I previously mentioned to each other, those topics are pretty much going to be to try and give us a direction. But we both just said we have ADHD.
So,
and
yeah.
I think you know what happens with that. So each episode will have kind of a talking point that we will go over, but they won't necessarily strictly follow that.
Yes, that's a good way to phrase
it. It'll probably diverge, yeah. But it's going to be great. So yeah, going back to the beginning, in the land before time, there two people existed, and they may or may not have loved each other very much. That is up for debate. But out sprang a baby boy, because that's how babies are made. They just pop into existence. So be careful, kids.
We're talking about our parents, so that's how we're going to pretend it happens.
Yes. Moving on. Okay. So, yeah, I was born in England. I was a British baby, but American, but created on British soil.
Because Dad was in the military.
But I guess technically, yeah, our father was in the military. He was also in the Air Force. And we moved to Italy shortly after I was born. And then, like 2.5-ish years later,
out popped a baby girl.
Whatever magical occurrence happened to get, another girl, or not another girl, a baby girl.
Just me. I was the girl.
Just you. And it was, we. I don't think we were in Italy for too long because I think we only did 3 years.
Yeah,
because
I think
because then we moved.
I was really little when we moved back to England. Like. Baby.
Yeah, it was like the
baby.
same age when I moved from England to Italy. You were the same age moving from Italy to England. And then we stayed in England for a good 6-7 years. Like, I think we moved when I was, like, I just turned 10.
Yeah, I think I was, like, 6 or 7, so.
Yeah, and you don't have any memories of England, do you?
I do. They're not, like, concrete memories, but I do have, like, little random blurbs of memories.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I feel like that's kind of the same for me with Italy. But also, I'm not really sure if those are memories that I have or if I'm recalling
what
watching
other people have said and
videos of us. Well, yeah, things that people have said, as well as like when we watched those old VHS. Yeah. If it was just like recollection of those, the human mind is really weird.
It is.
Like you really can't trust it.
No.
It's kind of crazy how much wrong information and like how untrustworthy memories are.
Yes. Yes.
That's a topic for a different day. And I will say, if we get too close to some topics that we've picked out, I don't want to get too in depth into those.
Yeah.
So we can just like
touch on it and move on.
Exactly. Yeah. Because we have a lot planned. But I'm excited. And so we were in England until 2002, which I remember. So this is a weird thing. I only remember the aspect of 9/11 from the fear of flying to the U.S. after it happened.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't have any recollection of it actually happening. I remember Princess Diana dying
Really? I have no memory of that.
because, like, yeah, well, here's a differentiator between your experience in England and mine. Is I actually went to British school.
Oh,
Like
right.
I was put into like their culture and their like education
And I
system,
was not.
whereas like you were on the military base.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not really at a fault to our parents. It was just the age
Yeah, because they
that we
said
were
once I
at.
hit first grade, they would put me in British school like you. But we left before I
Mm-hmm.
hit first grade.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, like Princess Diana dying, it was like what I imagine the equivalent, not the equivalent, but comparable to when 9/11 happened in the US, like schools kind of like paused, everyone pulled out TVs and like was watching TVs like what is
Yeah.
going on? It was kind of like that where like school just kind of stopped and we were like watching broadcasts of Princess Diana's death and stuff and
Wow.
it was really weird. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a memory of 9/11 because, and I don't know if maybe it was different because I was on the military base, but I remember like being in the classroom and I remember them putting it on the TV. Like, I don't remember anything else besides that and besides being like confused of like what's happening because I was like 5, so did not
Yeah.
compute.
No concept of the
But I
world.
remember them like putting it on a TV in the room and like we were not learning that day. So,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean that is a pretty different contrast of I mean imagine like on a military base like I'm sure everyone
yeah.
was freaking out like sort of like what is, that was a direct like the first direct attack
Right.
on the US.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that like generations now like 9/11 is so it's turned into a meme.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
and it's such a weird thing that generations now just see it as a meme. But like think of like the Titanic. Like
Right.
that was a massive tragic event that at the time was like traumatizing for people.
Yeah. So I can actually talk
But
about
we
that
just joke about it and
because I teach kids and, it's November right now, so we just recently like had 9/11, like the Remembrance Day, and it's wild to me like how much the kids don't understand about it. Like I would ask them questions or like would have them ask me questions and they like at a very base level, like I remember talking to them about like airport security and they like did not understand the concept that that was not a thing before 9/11. Like they were like, so they just let people
it's
like
just so
walk
normalized
onto
to
the
them.
plane? And I was like, well, yeah, because they had no reason to think that that was a bad idea. Like they just were like, well, the leaders were just stupid. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like this big event didn't happen. So there was no reason to be scared. I was like, do you have to go through a metal detector to get on like a public bus? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, it's the same kind of thing. There's no reason to. There's been no like, yeah,
Yeah.
they don't get it. They don't have a concept.
It was outside the realm of
Yeah,
possibilities. Like
exactly.
nobody would do that
And they
until it
they
happened.
didn't they like couldn't grasp that. They're like, "Well, that doesn't make sense. Like the leaders were just stupid to not have people like checked before they go on planes." So, that was interesting for me to
That's so
navigate. Yeah.
interesting. So now like we have ingrained into every future generation that humans have the capacity for this mass violence.
Yeah.
Like that's just in their psyche.
Right. Like they don't understand a world where that wasn't a possibility. They don't understand it.
That's sad.
It is. It's
Wow.
really sad.
And not just kids, but people in general should not have to have that on their mind like that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's weird teaching kids about things that like I was alive for that they weren't, and it's just like, whoa. Like you really truly don't understand that there was a world that existed before this thing happened. And yeah, it was an interesting conversation with seventh graders.
Like seventh graders. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm so used to you teaching high schoolers. So
Yeah.
like the frame of reference of a middle
Well, but I
schooler
mean, even
is
when I was teaching
wildly
high
different.
schoolers, like they also weren't alive when it happened. So even like my seniors that I taught a couple years ago, they didn't know what it was. Well, they knew what it was, but like they weren't alive, so they didn't like fully understand it. So,
You know what's terrifying? People born after 2004 can vote. Like, that's not terrifying, but like it's
weird.
really, it's weird. Yeah. And it's something about life that I've discovered, which you hear like all throughout your life. You hear it, but like you don't fully grasp it until you feel it yourself. But time really does accelerate,
Yes.
like the older you get.
Yes. Like I'm going to be 27 in 11 days. And like 27 still sounds young, obviously, but like I just feel like I blinked and I'm like in my late 20s. What?
I feel you. I have already had my last 20th birthday
Yeah.
in my 20s. I am currently living my last 20s
Yeah.
year.
It's nuts.
And in 5 months I will be in my 30s. And like I know 30 isn't that old.
But like how are we that
I
grown up?
know. I know. It's weird. Like, and I think a lot of people get in this, they don't grow out of the mindset. It's like once you go through high school, or you go through the whole education system, you go through high school, and then you're just thrown out into the world. And so you are like permanently this high school mind that now has to take in all this information of the real world, of things that you never knew were possible, like things that honestly should be taught in schools, like taxes.
Yes.
And like how to be a functioning adult.
Yes.
Not to subtract from the things that are taught, those are important, but like,
No, I totally agree. And the last 2 years ago when I taught seniors, I like would spend 1 day a week and I asked them, what do you want to learn? What do you feel like you need to know before you graduate? And I would just spend a whole class period teaching whatever that thing was. So they asked about like, how do I put like wiper fluid in my car? So we like took a field trip out to my car and
oh wow,
showed them that. And then they asked about like, how does,
wait, you did
yeah.
that?
And it's like it had nothing to do with English,
Really?
but it was just like I could see the anxieties of them in them of like I'm about to be an adult in the real world and I feel like I don't know how to do any adult things. So I asked them like give me a list of what you want to learn and we'll go through it
Wow.
this year. So but
How did you work that into your curriculum? Because
I
don't
just
you have like a
ignored some
strict
stuff.
curriculum you have to
I'm going to
follow?
be honest. There was just some
Oh,
stuff that I was like,
okay.
you know what? This life skill is more important than them reading this poem. So we're just going to do this life skill.
That is highly commendable. In
Yeah.
case you can't tell, she's a goddamn hero.
I mean, that's dramatic.
That's
but...
amazing. No, like I mean, you've mentioned like that you've gotten letters of like the kids that you've taught and like how impactful you were with them, and like it's things like that. There's such small things that have such profound impacts.
Yeah.
And it's more humanizing. Like when a teacher can relate with you and like level with you on a human and emotional level, I think it increases the capacity for learning.
Yeah, there was this
Because you can empathize with the teacher.
there was this phrase that my the two people that were in charge of my program in my undergrad, this phrase that they said over and over and they drilled into us all 4 years, and it was, we teach kids, we don't teach English. Like the idea that I'm there for the kids, I'm not there for the content. Like the content is important, obviously, but the kids always have to come first. And so if my seniors needed some life skills because they were feeling anxious about being adults, like then that's what I needed to do. And I don't really care what the curriculum said. I'm there for the kids, I'm not there for the content.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's important for sure. I mean, I don't want to take away from like how important it is to learn math and English and history and stuff, but like at the end of the day, it's the how you act and perceive the world around you that really makes a difference in your life and like society as a whole.
And I will say that I think the education system is like shifting a little bit with there are more teachers that kind of have the same mindset of me as like the kids, and what the kids need is more important than you have to learn X, Y, and Z in this year. Because if the kids are not ready to learn X, Y, and Z, then it doesn't really matter if I teach it. They're not going to learn it. Like we have to meet them where they are and give them the skills and the empathy and that kind of stuff that they need first.
And so this is one of those points where like this is a whole conversation that I want to have. Like I want to do a deep dive with you on, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But it's just a statement for you to marinate with. Is I am genuinely curious from an inside perspective of the education system. I think it's widely acknowledged and accepted that the education system is currently archaic and needs to be completely reworked. But from an inside perspective, like, how do you rework it? Do you just at the end of the year just like, all right, we're changing it up next year, we're doing everything entirely different? Because then like there's whole generations that are gonna be caught in the middle of that crossfire and could potentially do more damage. But yeah, so I don't want
Yeah,
to
that's a
dive
big
too much into
question.
that, but just like, that's a very big question, and it's not easy, and there may not be one right answer. So which is
Yeah.
kind of how life works. But yeah, so stay tuned because that
I'll put
conversation
that
is
in my
gonna come
thought
up,
box.
and yeah, put that in the thought box. And I think that's gonna be something that's really difficult with this podcast. Is there's so many things that I really want to have like deep
Yeah.
conversations on, and I just want to do them all
Yes.
right now.
I mean, because when we have talks just like before we started this and kind of what led us to this, like we would be on the phone for like hours at a time, just like stream of consciousness talking about the world.
But yes, yeah, that is definitely how this kind of came to be. Is we want to talk more frequently. It's crazy, like how close we
Yes.
are, compared to other
Yes.
siblings, but like how infrequently we would talk. But then when we did talk, it was just like we need to get all of it
Yeah.
out, like
Yeah.
like 2 to 3 hours of
Yeah.
conversation, just nonstop about random things, and it
Yeah.
just
Well, because like we
flows
don't
into
talk
different
infrequently
topics.
because we don't want to talk. It's because we live very busy lifestyles, both of us. So it's like
Or
finding the
yes.
time. So then when we find the time, we're like, dump everything.
Agreed. Okay, so I wanna elaborate on this a little bit, but not for too long because we do need to get back to our
Yes.
history because we've done
Yep.
the diverge from our history, but we do both live very busy lifestyles, and if you'd like to start, go into like the day in the life of Cassandra currently look like.
So like I said, I teach, which involves a lot of outside stuff. Like it's not just go to school and teach and then go home, which hopefully people know, but a lot of people don't understand like how much goes into it. So there's like going to games and activities and plays after school because it means so much to the kids to see me there, and planning and grading and all of that. And then I'm also currently in grad school. So I have the rest of this semester and then one more semester, and then I'll graduate with my master's, um, which is exciting. I'm ready to be done because that takes a lot of time and energy as well. And then somewhere in there, I try to also have like a little bit of a social life, go see friends and stuff. Because I'm like remembering things that I do as I'm like saying this. I'm like, oh yeah, I also do that. So my mom and our mom, I don't know, whatever, our mom and we go volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House, and we do that. We have like 1 4-hour shift a month, but then we also go in to do like cleaning of rooms, like once or twice a month. So we're in there like
Can you explain what that is?
the Ronald McDonald
Because
House, or
yeah, from an outside perspective, it's like you're volunteering at McDonald's, like.
oh, yes. Okay, so the Ronald McDonald House is a charity that they are like a home, basically, like almost like a hotel set up near children's hospitals, and then families that are their kid is in the hospital and they don't live close to that hospital, it gives them a place to stay. So they have meals for them every night. There are at least in the one that I volunteer in, there's like outdoor play areas, and there's like a family room and a game room, and like things for the families to come do, um, to like blow off steam and like reconnect and stuff because they're going through like really, really hard times. So my mom and I go in, and most of what we do involves cleaning, because obviously they're working with kids that are in the hospital. So like everything needs to be spotless and sanitized constantly. So we clean, we flip rooms. So when a family checks out, we clean rooms so that a new family can come in. And it's like a deep clean process because, like I said, the kids are in the hospital. So it has to be super, super clean. So yeah, it's a really, really cool charity. You should check it out. And I don't know, maybe donate because they do a lot of really, really amazing things.
Yeah, we can do this. We can put a link
Oh,
in the
yes.
description
Love
of
that.
this
I love
podcast.
that. Yes, because
Yeah.
they do a lot of really, really amazing things because they also will help families pay for their mortgage while they're there so that they can like truly just focus on their kid and helping their kid get better. So it's an incredible charity.
It's amazing.
So yeah, so that also takes up a lot of my time. So it's a lot. I have a lot going on, but I like being busy. So
Yeah. And I think that also plays into why life kind of accelerates.
yeah,
Because, like time flies when you're having fun.
yeah,
And it's not that saying in itself isn't necessarily strictly true, because it also kind of bleeds into time flies when you're busy.
yes.
Was that everything for you?
I
So I
mean,
don't want to
everything that
interrupt
I
you.
can remember right now. So there's probably other stuff I do, but
Okay.
yeah. Oh, I remember the other thing. So my husband's family, my in-laws, own an escape room, and we are currently building a new room. And so I go on usually Sundays and help them with that too. So just another element, but that's kind of fun. I like it. It's creative. So, but yes, that
Mm-hmm.
is one more thing that I do.
It's a really good
Yeah.
escape room.
I mean,
You should check it out.
not
Escaped
to
in
be
Time.
biased, but like it's pretty great. If you're in the Colorado Springs area.
Yeah, it is the only escape room I have ever done ever. But I feel like it set the bar pretty high
Yeah.
because it was really cool.
Yeah.
We have one here like down the street, and I just have never done it. I should probably try it and compare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you up to these days?
These days, okay, so I work full time at a nonprofit based out of Denver. So I technically work close to you,
Yes.
but not close to you. That doesn't involve as much as your teaching because like I work my 40 and then I go home at the end of the day, and
Right.
I mean occasionally like I'm salaried, so occasionally I'll get a call and I need to do something, or but nothing like bringing home homework and having to do all that and stuff. That's crazy. I don't know how you do that. And then I am a photographer and a designer, and so I have my own business that I have a couple frequent clients that give me mostly design work, and like editing work. I do photography, trying to branch out, but I'm finding that to be difficult just because when you are so busy, like finding time to promote yourself and actually do things while also maintaining, the free time for friends and family,
Right,
and like,
right.
enjoying yourself. That's the struggle bus right there. And then I am also in a band, and so I have to practice and go to practice for bands we do once a week, where I am the drummer and the singer.
What's your band called?
It's called the Hop Monsters.
That's hilarious. I love that.
We drink, like it's hop as in hops
Yeah.
for beer.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're like, woo! We're not like a party band. Yeah. We do more like rock and whatnot with little more heavier elements. Like I'm really into like I don't even know what to classify it anymore. I like gent, which is that's a really good. If you like progressive metal, gent is really good. It's like if jazz and metal came together. It's really good.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But we're not gent. We're rock, but with more heavier elements.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
pause you
so
right there
it's
because I just need to like
pause me.
plug in real quick because you won't do it for yourself. But he is incredibly talented. Like, if this was a video instead of just a podcast, we could like insert some pictures. But like his photography and his like creative skills are amazing. Like, even when he was a kid, I would ask him all the time to like draw me pictures. Like anything that has to do with creativity, music, photography, art, any of that. He's amazing. And he won't say it about himself, so I have to say it.
I appreciate it. I have been getting a lot more good feedback from people, and I'm getting better. You have to, when you start a business, like you have to be accepting of that, and you have to use that, which is very weird for me. Like you almost have to be boisterous and like,
Hey, I'm amazing.
not self-centered, but because you have to advertise that. If you don't exude that and you do a photo shoot, it just makes them less confident in the work. That's like, it makes the whole experience weird. And so you have to be like, even if you like you're really uncertain about like the current environment and the situation, you have to act like things are going exactly according to plan, because like you just have to be confidence incarnate, which is really weird, and it's something I'm getting. I wouldn't say I'm used to it, but it's like I'm getting more used to it. That's good. Because that wasn't generally a part of my personality beforehand. I try and be humble, which isn't bad. You can be humble. Being humble is really good.
I don't think humble and confidence are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because confidence is not the same thing as being like full of yourself or cocky. So you can be humble, but also be like, no, I'm awesome. You know, I think the two can exist together.
Okay, I'll work on building the two simultaneously. Yeah. I will. The humble brag.
Yes.
The humble brag.
Exactly.
There we go. Yeah, so our lives are both very busy.
Yes.
And now we've added another section to our very busy lives.
Because that's who we are as people. Just keep adding stuff.
It is. You got to do what you love.
Yeah.
Quick life plug right here. We're going to inject some life advice. Do what you love. Life is short. It is so much shorter than you think it is. And you don't generally realize that until you are older. I'm not saying we're old, but like I feel privileged to have acknowledged that early in life.
Yeah.
So many people don't acknowledge that or realize that not until it's too late, but until they no longer have the ability to do things that they want. So long as you're not hurting anyone or yourself, just do what you love.
Yes. As I like to say, you do you, boo-boo.
Yeah. I like it. All right. So circling all of this back to where we were.
Back on track.
We had just moved to America.
To Colorado, to be specific.
For the first time. Colorado, which is where one of us currently still resides.
Me. It's the best state ever, and I will not be taking questions. Thank you.
It's okay. We just got back on track, and I'm already going to take us off track. You have lived in, I'm going to say technically 2 places, but technically 3, but like realistically 2.
Okay. Yes.
Like England
and Colorado. Yes.
Because Italy, like
I was a baby.
You were an infant. Yeah. And I've never thought about that until just now. I have moved so much in my life.
Yeah.
That's just normal for me.
I've moved houses a lot.
Yeah.
Within like Colorado. But yeah, in terms of like bigger moves. Yeah, I've only lived in 2 places. Although I sort of count not Colorado, that's where I live. I sort of count New York a little bit too, because I would spend like months at a time there. Mm-hmm. So I kind of count that a little bit too. I didn't move there though.
It's like the equivalent of a summer home.
Yeah, essentially.
Like a childhood summer home.
Yeah, that makes me sound like I'm like rich and rolling in it, but yes.
Well, no.
I was living.
It was our rich family members that would, I guess the word is sponsor, but it's family trips. Like it's visiting family.
Yeah,
so
like they would pay for me to go stay there for the summer.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And I actually attribute a lot of like my work ethic in life from those visits. Yeah. Because our grandfather he's not really a farmer. I mean, I guess you can kind of consider that not him now a farmer, because he's retired.
Giant
and just
garden.
Yeah, like just like it's like a couple acres, I think, at this point.
I think it's more than it. The garden or their whole property?
Well, their whole property is a lot more than that, but
yeah, okay,
the garden itself. Yeah, and he just does it for fun. Like,
yeah,
produces way more than he needs. Like,
but they give it away.
Yeah, they just drive around town and just like, hey, have some food. It's just purely for fun.
Yeah,
just to keep them busy. But yeah, I attribute a lot of my work ethic and whatnot from him working me to the bone.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think is good. But yeah, so we moved to Colorado. To the U.S. The first time we had been to the U.S. outside of our New York and Connecticut visits. Yeah, because where our grandparents lived was in New York and Connecticut, which is the Northeast, so it's basically like the same area. And that's kind of like, I imagine you consider Colorado home, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah. For me, like, I did see Colorado as home because that's where I remember the moment in my life where I was like, I've lived in Colorado longer than I lived in England.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, like, I really felt like England was home. But then once I moved, like, I joined the military and I moved away from Colorado and have just moved since. I never really felt like anywhere was home until currently, like now, starting my life over with my wife. Like now Washington is home.
Yeah.
And it's comforting to have that feeling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't uncomfortable to not have it. But
well, it wasn't uncomfortable because that's just what we were used to. Because
yeah.
I think that's why I'm so emotionally attached to Colorado and like Colorado Springs specifically is because none of the houses we lived in ever felt like home because there was just so much turmoil, which we will get to in a minute. And like we moved a lot between houses, and so like a house never felt like home. But Colorado Springs as a whole is what started to feel like home for me first before a house ever did. So I think that's why like I feel so attached to this place because the city as a whole felt like it was my home.
Yeah, I can totally get that. And I want to interrupt that thought process or that thought chain for a second to say if any family members are listening,
Oh Lord.
This is very, yeah, oh Lord. This is going to be a very honest and open
Yes.
kind of podcast and experience. A great lesson to take away from this in life in general is being honest and true to yourself, and just honesty in general and openness is so beneficial.
Yes.
It makes things so much easier. It may cause problems in some areas, and there are certain aspects of life that like you don't want to be super honest, like because like you could damage a reputation or you or there's a lot of nuances to it. But in general, just being honest and open is so much healthier for you and yourself to heal anything that's happened to you or just to reduce future traumas.
And I think it's healthy for those around you too. Like I've seen as a teacher, like when I'm honest with kids about, obviously I'm not like, hey, here's my life story, but like when I'm honest with them about like, hey, I've gone through this really similar experience to you and here's what I learned from that or like how I got through it, that has been so beneficial to them, which is why I think you and I both talked about like being honest and open about our past and about the things that we've gone through because other people can help, other people can benefit from what we have to say and the experiences we've gone through. So, yeah.
No, I very much agree. And with that being said, to the family members who might be listening, like the things that are said are not designed to hurt you. It's more so speaking from our frame of reference and our experiences and how we have perceived
speaking
certain
our
events.
Truths.
Yeah, speaking our truths, which you might hear people say that perception is reality, and that's true to a certain extent. And I've thought about this a lot with like all the events that we've gone through, and that might need to be like an episode within itself, because I don't want these to run on too long, because I'm probably thinking about capping it at like hour, maybe hour and a half at most, which we're coming up on. So it goes by fast. They're not designed to hurt you. I have realized that where we are right now in our parents' lives, we are at a point, you and I, where we existed in our parents' lives as kids, and they had already gone through their own histories, their lives, their traumas, and then had us, and we were viewing it from a frame of reference of not having any experiences. Like their traumas and their struggles that they went through were ours. Like they put that, not that they put it on us, but it's like that was our view of the world, was the struggles that they were going through. As much as they may have tried to mask it to the best of their abilities, like they're people at the end of the day. Like your parents, and I'm not your as in like you, Cassandra, but like the listener, your parents are just people. They're just like you. They don't have the answers to everything. They're making it up as you go, just like everyone
Yes.
else on this
And a quick
planet.
side note about that. So usually people have, when they grow up, they have that moment where they realize, like, oh crap, my parents are people. Like, they're not these all knowing, godlike beings that know all of the answers and are perfect. And fun fact for me, um, I had that moment with you, not with my parents, because I learned very early in life that my parents were not perfect, but you became like my parent in a way and like my protector and my person. And so I like very distinctly remember having this moment of like, oh my God, my brother is a human being. He's not a god. He's not like an all knowing, perfect person. And it was like honestly heart wrenching and like it broke my heart. I was like, what? What do you mean he's not like the perfect person that's
Far
ever
from it.
existed? So, yeah.
Like I appreciate that. And like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it because that's a long
Yeah.
conversation that we'll definitely have. My wife, she had like a really emotional moment the other day, and like she's kind of, she knows a little bit of the story about like our past and whatnot, and she was saying like how appreciative she was for me that I was in your life, and so she just had that moment of like I'm really thankful that like your sister had someone there to like help her.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I like truly don't know how I would have made it through all of that if I didn't have you. You were my like
You would have made it.
I don't know. I don't know, honestly. Like there were some tough times there that I don't know if I could have made it, but yeah, I mean, we kind of touched very briefly earlier about like how we're have kind of a strange relationship in that we're a lot closer and like we're friends
Mm-hmm.
and we're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
we don't hate each other like some siblings do. Um, but like one of my all-time favorite stories is one that our mom tells, and she said that from the moment I was born, the moment you met me, she says that I was your pride and joy. So it's like, I don't know, some people say that like, oh, your trauma is what really bonded you, and I think our trauma definitely bonded us more,
Oh,
but
oh
I
yeah.
think like from the start, like we just always were like two peas in a pod.
Agreed. I always recall that the photo of like I'm sitting on the bed in Italy in like our little apartment, and like I just have you like cradled, like little baby you cradled, and I'm
Yeah.
just like looking at you like I'm a parent even though I'm like 3.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It's just always
yeah,
been that way.
from the beginning. Yeah, no, super agreed. And I definitely cherish that. Like it's not
Yes.
something I take for granted. Like
Yes.
I hear all these horror stories of siblings. Like our
Oh
parents.
my
Our
God.
parents despise their siblings.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to say despise. Like, separation definitely like allows you to be
Helped it.
stronger because you don't
Yeah.
have to deal with them all the time.
But the stories they tell of growing
But
up, I'm like, oh
oh
my
my
God.
god, like they legitimately were trying to kill each
Like,
other.
yeah, like
Like
actually.
I can't imagine that.
No, I can't either. And people always ask, like, well, you guys obviously had arguments. And I'm like, well, we did, but they were never like to that level. Like, it was just like, you hid my toy and I'm mad at you. Okay, I'm over it. Like, that was
And
it.
the well, there were the moments that we both have crandall blood in
Oh,
us,
yes.
and
That means rage.
uh rage, yes, very very. I a lot of people in my life appreciate that I am so grounded and calm.
Yes.
I don't honestly know how I've been able to get to that point. But I do have a lot of inner rage, and I get angry very quickly. I'm just very good at not letting that come out to the surface. And there were a couple times that I remember that you really, really pissed me off.
Yeah. I mean,
And
same.
I, yeah, yeah. I mean, it happens. It's, but like, and I didn't know like just the difference in strength between us, and like when I wouldn't full on like punch you and like out of like trying to hurt you. It's just like, God damn it, I'm really angry, and
Yeah.
like I now resort to like punching my own leg. But I remember like I'd hit your leg or something, or hit your arm, and it would like actually hurt you
Yeah.
like quite a bit, and mom would always have to come and be like what the hell, like
Yeah.
you're stronger than you think you are, like don't do that. And I would feel bad, and like, but It wouldn't be like we'd get into like full on brawls. It'd be
No.
like it would get to a boiling point. We'd go and do our thing, and then we would just separate and come back and be like, hey,
We're fine. Yeah.
everything's fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one specific time that you really, really made me feel rage because in high school, like
Let
early
me
high
hear it.
school, I was trying to figure out how to deal with my rage because I had a lot of it at that time. And I was trying different things. And I was trying at one point, when I got to a point, I would go outside and scream as loud as I could, just like to release that rage energy. And there was one time when I did that, and then I came back in, and they were standing at the door laughing at me.
I
And I
remember
was
that.
like, well,
Yes.
the rage is back. So,
And that's I don't know how to put like the emotions and like memories that I have of that moment into words. So this might come out horribly wrong. But like at that stage in life, it's and you got to think of it from like my perspective. Like you were very angry in the moment. Like from your reference point, like I can see like you were actually angry. But from like an outside perspective, just like seeing someone just like yelling at the sky like by themselves and just like in the backyard, and like when you have the wiffle ball
oh my God.
bat
And I would just beat
and
the
like you
crap
just
out of
like hit
things.
things
Yes.
with the wiffle, it was on a certain level like for me it was really cringy and funny to
I mean,
watch you
I
do
can
that.
totally
And
understand
so like
now as like someone removed from that situation. I can understand like it was probably hilarious to watch me just scream into the abyss of the backyard or like,
but super inappropriate to let you see that I was
right. But you
laughing
were
at.
also like a kid. So I mean, you didn't really,
Yeah, I was a
you're,
teenager, yeah.
you didn't understand that,
Teen
yeah,
brain.
that like, wow, that was really not the right thing to do in that moment. But yeah, in the moment, I was like, I'm trying so hard to like learn to control my rage and outlet it in healthy ways. And this guy's freaking laughing at me. Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing great. That point in your life was very very rough.
Yes.
Which is another topic that we'll
Yes.
probably end up going through. Um, mental health is crazy.
I think we
Like
both have a lot to
it's
say on that.
so important.
Yeah.
Yes, incredibly so. And the avenues to get it or to get the help that you need are sadly really unfortunately hard.
Yes. Yes. So to get us back on track, I feel like we've kind of
Go for it. Yeah.
skirted around this without ever actually saying it. So I think the catalyst for all of our trauma was our parents getting divorced. Because I mean the divorce itself was traumatic, but I think that was really catalyst for everything that came after. So I think we've kind of skirted around like not on purpose, but just because we have ADHD brains,
Yeah.
saying like that I think we were here for like a year or maybe two. I think I was in second grade when they got a divorce. And so that
It
caused a
wasn't
lot
even a
of,
year.
yeah,
Like it was almost immediate.
yeah, yeah. And then, so then, like, obviously they moved into different houses, and there was a lot of, it was not one of those, like, neat and tidy, okay, we're divorced, let's, like, move on with our lives. It was a very messy divorce. And then, even after, like, the divorce itself was final, there was, like, custody battles, and there was, like, a whole bunch of other stuff that happened after. But I think talking about our backgrounds, like, that's kind of the catalyst of all of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that came after. At least from my
Agreed.
perspective.
And
Okay, yeah.
yeah, well, no, I definitely agree. I have a lot of recollections of before we moved to the US of like it wasn't just we moved here, something happened and they got divorced.
Right.
Like it is the span of their entire relationship together.
Right. It was never, ever, ever a good relationship. Like, ever.
Yeah. And so yeah, that was definitely the catalyst that started everything, because it wasn't just like an easy divorce. It wasn't like, oh, we don't love each other anymore, we're gonna separate. Like it was malicious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we were used as pawns.
We got put in the
that.
middle, and there were a lot of times when, which this is part of the reason why I had that moment of like, oh, my brother's not perfect instead of my parents, is because there were a lot of times when I felt like they were so focused on hurting each other that they like forgot we existed. And so it felt like you were the one that was there raising me and making sure that I was good and I was taken care of, because they were too busy trying to hurt each other, which is probably not easy to hear for them, but like that's even if that's not their intent, like that's how it felt to me as a kid.
Yeah. No, and I definitely that feeling was mutual, because like that's a lot of why I did what I did, and how I sheltered you from a lot of things, was because of that, because they were hell bent on like destroying each other's lives, and using us to do
But it's
that.
just so sad because you were a kid too, and you didn't have anyone to do that for you. Like you had to take on the role of being a parent at such a young age because you wanted to protect me, but like you didn't have anyone to do that for you, and you were a kid too.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on that, and I feel like a lot of people would be really upset that they never really got to experience a childhood like that. But also, I'm just immensely grateful that I have the way of viewing the world that I do now, and I feel like that had a large part to play in it, despite it being traumatic and affected me a lot in negative ways and took me to a very dark place. I feel like I now have a unique perspective on life and can perceive happenings around me in a way that I feel is molded who I am today.
Hence podcast.
Hence podcast. Yeah, we want to get these out there, and hopefully, because I do want to call it here in a
Yes.
minute because we are running short on time, but that essentially is what we want this to be. Is if it helps you in any way, if there's anything that you can take from this that can help shift your worldview to better yourself and to better the world around you, we just want to provide that, or at least provide like a way to expand your mind in a way that it wasn't previously expanded, I guess. And on the website where this is going to be hosted, like we're going to host this on all the major platforms like Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. But also we have a website, presentmatterspodcast.com, and there'll be a newsletter that you can sign up for to send out email blasts for new things. But also I want to create, we have an email address essentially. You can reach out to us, like if you have questions or things you want us to talk about. Because at the end of the day, I want this to be helpful.
Right.
Both healing for us as well as anyone who might be listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the end goal.
I think that's a good segue too to talk about why we decided on the name Present Matters, which I will let you do.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, thank you. I didn't even think about like stating why we named it that. So we had a bunch of names that we had come up with, and Present Matters is what like stuck out for you, correct?
Yeah.
Like out of the ones that we had brainstormed. And it's really an emphasis on literally present matters, like right now matters. Oftentimes I have noticed that people perceive the world outside of the scope of history. Like we are just living in a bubble that isn't influenced by anything that we do or the people around us do, which it very much is. Everyone in the past existed and played a part, a vital role, whether it be small or big, in the way that our world is now. This bubble that you are perceiving now, that how you are perceiving life, was crafted by everyone that came before. And now matters just as much as now mattered back then. And there are countless people of society and humanity as a whole that have yet to be born that will be influenced by what you do now. And so we really wanted to emphasize the importance of now. Also, it's kind of doubles as present matters, as in like current happenings, like things that happen in the world. So we can discuss those. So it's not going to like follow a strict content form. It's going to be evolutionary, as we discussed in the beginning, and it's going to evolve. But that is the overall goal. And you can elaborate if there's anything that you want to add on to that.
No, I think you said it perfectly. I think that's why I gravitated to that name, because it, first of all, makes my English heart happy. That I don't know if I ever said that I teach English specifically, but anyway, it makes my English heart happy that we're using words that like have multiple meanings. And I think it perfectly captures what we're trying to do with this. Like, present matters, like how our lives and our experiences shape how we see things that are currently happening in the world, but also like how living in the moment and being in the here and now, like understanding how what we're doing here and now affects everything, I think is like perfectly captures what we're trying to do and why we wanted to do this. So yeah, I think it's a great name.
Agreed. No bias at all. I think it's the perfect name. And with that though, with that explanation, I do want to bring it to a close. And I just want to thank you specifically. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these. I don't want it to end, but we have to.
I know. Like I said, we could talk for hours.
For hours. But we're doing it more frequently now, so it'll feel better.
Yes.
In 2 weeks we'll record another one. And so I am planning on releasing an episode every other Thursday. We record these on the weekend, so either Saturday or Sunday. So it is currently November 19th, if that is relevant in any way. And we'll release these on Thursdays. You can find us on any major podcasting platform. I'll also put the recording up, not video, don't worry, Cassandra, on YouTube. We also have a Twitter. I'm going to do Instagram. I also have a TikTok of all things to do little clips and whatnot.
Yes, I love TikTok.
Yes. So, I mean, that could be a whole conversation itself. But yeah, so go to if you're really interested in following us, you can follow us on any of those platforms. They're all on the website, presentmatterspodcast.com. And then thank you, everyone, for listening that is listening. Yeah. And we really look forward to going on this journey with you.
And reach out to us. We want to hear from you, too.
Definitely. Yes, I'm excited. I really want to engage with the community.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great... We don't have an outro yet. Have a great rest of your 2 weeks until we hear from you.
Bye.
Bye.